Hello and welcome on this Valentine's Eve. I decided to do another spontaneous YouTube live. And for this one, I decided to do a master study pencil sketch from one of the great romantic classical painters, an Englishman, an English painter from about 150 years ago, called Herbert James Draper. And I am going to be doing this master study sketch of one of my favorite paintings of his. Right from scratch, right from the start. I am using a large A3 pencil sketchbook for this, but I don't know how much. I want to make sure that I get the figures in, but if I'm going to get the whole composition of the painting in, I think the figures are going to have to be depicted quite small. So I'm going to test first. I'm going to map the rough composition in that's closely resembling the original painting, the Lament of Icarus. Which has 4 figures in it. One is Icarus himself. Who has tragically fallen to his death. And he is surrounded by 3 what I think are water nymphs, similar to what John William Waterhouse used to do in his paintings of the water nymphs. And on this occasion, they're holding the dead body of Icarus after he has fallen from the sky to his death. If you're familiar with Greek mythology, you might know some of the story. And it's a bit of a tragic painting, really. It was a tragic story, a myth. Definitely not a heroic one. It's capturing a moment where it's the end of his life. And he's being held up in such a way which is quite brilliant, with the wings that he used to get close to the sun. And this is going to be a master study that focuses on mainly on these figures in the painting. I'm going to check the anatomy, which I think is brilliant, the proportions that Herbert James Draper managed to record in the painting. I think are quite brilliant. And the storytelling too. I'm doing this from the start, right from scratch, instead of jumping in on a already developed pencil drawing. So I'm just going to see how this goes. It's quite late in the evening here. Friday night, Valentine's Eve. So if you're here for the journey, welcome. I'm just currently blocking in the composition of the scene, trying to go as lightly as I can before I start committing to anything. But right from the get-go, there's a lot of foreshortening going on with Icarus himself. His torso is curved and foreshortened with his legs, his torso coming in our direction, his legs pointing down, and then his enormous wings that resemble a giant eagle spread out around him. We create these really beautiful patterns. And it's almost like an arch here of the three figures, the heads that are in this curving line. And then there's one more just down here. His arm actually leads the eye to that figure, and the figure also leads your eye up to Icarus. But I remember when I first saw this painting years ago, actually. I can't remember if I saw it in a gallery or if I saw it online, but it really caught my attention when I saw it. And I think it was only this one and maybe one more from the artist that I saw until recently. And I was very grateful to come across his work properly again, and it led me down a little journey of, you could say, discovery and self-discovery. And I remember when I first saw this image a few years ago, I wanted to draw it there and then, to be honest. I wanted to draw it on the spot, see what I could do, but wherever I viewed it from, it wasn't the right moment. So I was sitting here tonight and I was actually in the process of making a completely different YouTube video, an oil painting YouTube video, but I decided, because I hadn't done any actual pencil drawing today, that I wanted to go live once again and keep up the little bit of momentum that I've started here in the past week or so. With my first few live streams on the channel. Hello, I'm just going to check the chat, see who's here. Hi there. Hello. So who have we got? We got Mailer Roller. Hi there. Thank you for joining. Dark Devil 130, 1i30. Hello. Thank you for joining. Bridge N2S, hello to you as well. I hope I pronounced your name properly. I was just standing over the sketch then because my sketchbook is actually completely flat on the table, and I was standing over it for the first few minutes just to try and map things in proportionally before I sit back down, because my perspective will shift from looking from this point of view to this point of view. And when you do that, if the sketchbook isn't elevated, it's really easy to get the proportions wrong. So I'm looking at the reference, and I want to make sure that I get the distances between these figures correct. The head that I'm on right now is Icarus. His dead body, but he's got a lot of colour in him, so it must have been, well, maybe not. Maybe it wasn't right in the moment where these nymphs have captured his body. A thought just occurred to me there that the fact that he's got so close to the sun, maybe he was flying for long enough towards the sun that he actually picked up a little bit of a light tan or colour. Because you know how sometimes if you haven't exposed yourself to the sun for a while, you can just go out for a few minutes sometimes, and depending on your skin complexion, you can pick up a little bit of colour quite quickly. So in the reference, the original painting, he looks more like asleep than dead. Doesn't look typically pale, but maybe that's just the version that I'm looking at. Anyway, I want to make sure, as I was saying, that I get the proportions correct. And it's a challenging one because there are all these twists and turns of the body and of all of the heads moving in different directions. But I think it's an amazing composition. And I saw it as potentially a really fun one to draw. And instead of settling down for bed late on this Friday night, because I do have to be up early tomorrow, I decided to do this stream because it was my intention of doing one at some point today. Initially, I had in mind to start a new oil painting, but I missed that opportunity early on. And then I had to move to my other tasks. And as it got later in the day, in the evening, the thought occurred to me that, of course, it's Valentine's Eve, and it could be a nice thing to pay tribute to one of the great classical artists from this part of the world. Whose work I greatly admire. And probably not as well known as he should be as an artist. He's one of those that you mention the name and most artists that I've spoken to don't actually know who he is, which is quite amazing. When you look at the quality of his work, it's very, very high quality, and he's got some beautiful images right up there. Names such as Waterhouse, probably a bit more well known as he was with the pre-Raphaelite movement, and there was a number of artists in that lineage that were quite well known too. So there's a nice little detail that I like here. The particular nymph that's just behind him, it's almost like she's captured him or caught him somehow, because her arms sweep directly under his and her hand pokes out here and it's wrapping around his obliques. It's the palm of her thumb. I will check the chat from time to time. I doubt many people will join at this time of night. I have no idea. From England anyway, but maybe from other parts of the world. So for anybody who does join, please do say hello and say where in the world you're from, where you're watching from, where you're listening from. You might want to draw along with me as I do this, as I work on this sketch. I know it can be quite an inspiring and motivating thing to draw live alongside another artist. So please feel free to take out your sketchbook if you are an artist, wherever in the world you may be watching from. I will just check to see if anybody is here. Try not to take my lamp off the table with me. So who we got? My good friend Adrian is here. How are we doing, Adrian? Well, you did comment earlier. I don't know if you're still here. Thank you for commenting. Adrian Morna. Strange Eye 5, who is that? Whoever that is, it looks good. Well, thank you very much. So I'm doing a master study by an artist called Herbert James Draper. He's an English painter from about 150 years ago. And the painting itself is called The Lament of Icarus. So I'm going to continue building up the drawing as this live stream goes on. And I'm going to keep going until I can't go on anymore, because it's already late in the evening and I may as well just push it as far as I can. So who else is here? Thank you very much, Sabriel. And welcome, ZK Animation Art. Hello. I'm going to get back to the drawing now, but I'll check on the chat from time to time. So this is right at the beginning of the drawing, so I will just chat away as I build it up. But yeah, it could be fun for you to stick around, because the original painting is absolutely gorgeous. And I've used the original painting as the thumbnail of this live stream. So if you want to check back later, you'll be able to see the original painting that I am working from right now for this master study. But after having seen this particular artist work in more detail and the quantity of his pieces, it made me think about my own art direction and where I want to go. I'm just going to sharpen my pencil because I'm already getting a little bit blunt. I'm going to keep that sharp edge as we progress into the evening. So the main figure is Icarus himself, and he has fallen. If you're just joining, he has fallen. He got too close to the sun and sadly, tragically, fell to his death in the ocean, as the myth goes. And what's really interesting, I think, about the 3 water nymphs that are surrounding him, one that's seemingly caught him in her arms, and the one just behind that I'll get to in a minute, who's looking over. It looks like she's holding a harp in her hand. And there's one more just down here, looking up. It's a very sad scene, and it makes you wonder if there is some level of familiarity between all of these characters in the original painting. Was there a history between them? That's what I wondered when I was looking at this piece. Because why are they seem so sad? I don't know too much about the mythology of water nymphs and their relationship with humans, but were they friends? Could they have been friends at some point? I think the story goes that for whatever reason, Icarus was imprisoned, and he created these wings, or maybe by the help of his father, I can't remember. The wings were created and he managed to escape. But he pushed a little bit too far and soared too high into the sky. This is a very tricky part of the anatomy in the painting, because I need to really pay attention here, because his abdominals are foreshortened and there's a combination of smooth and slightly more defined edges, but a lot of it is lost within the light and shadow in the painting. So I have to try to use some of my own knowledge of anatomy to make sure that I get things in the right place. So I'm quite happy with the baseline of his torso at the moment, and before I move on to his legs and the rest of his arms, I really want to get the foundations of these 2 water nymphs in the drawing, in my drawing, in my master study. I'm just gonna check over and see if somebody else is here. Oh man, thank you so much. ZK Animation, welcome. Really appreciate that. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Really appreciate that. I definitely won't give up. I won't. I will keep it up, I promise. Yeah, it's midnight. I mean, let me see what time it is here. I don't know where you are, but yeah, it's 11:28 p.m. here in England. So I'm assuming you might be somewhere in Europe if it's midnight for you. Or maybe not, actually. You could be somewhere else. Yeah, you could be somewhere else. If you're still live, let me know if you're there and where in the world you're watching from. I'm just gonna have a sip of tea. As I'm going to be chatting quite a bit, I'm still getting used to these impromptu, spontaneous live streams. So, this nymph, I want to make sure that I get the proportions right and her body in the right place here. It's quite important for the composition. So, I can see that one of the breasts is there and her arm. Kind of curves down, droops down, sweeps down below his. This appears under his arm, of course. And we get to her hand, which is barely visible. We can see her thumb and her finger, which is kind of curved, arched, I should say. It goes up, down, and a little bit around, and then the rest of the fingers you can't see, and the wings, the feathers of Icarus's ring start to wrap around in this area a little bit, and overlap and fold, and swoop towards his lower part of the body. So the very basic shape here is kind of like a blocky shape. So I'm just gonna get some of that in a little bit, and I can come back up her arm. And there's a really nice subtle turn of the head that I want to try and get here. So I want to make sure that it's not, her chin kind of starts, it's around here, so a little bit lower, I think, fractionally lower. Do you know what? So far I haven't used an eraser, so I'm going to see how far I can push, how far I can go without using my eraser. See how accurate I can get. First wings up, first attempt. This is a really nice. So it's like a head wraps around. I'm trying to find the center line, and we've got this nice angle off the brow. It's like her head's tilted down a little bit. And then swoops around the head. Her nose is positioned around here. And her hairline is it appears a lot lower down, I think just because of the angle and the perspective that we're looking down on her head. So I'll just map that in. And really want to get that center line off her head in the correct place. And her brow line is here, so her eyes are going to fall ever so slightly lower. And getting the right curve of the eye in these interesting perspectives is not easy. So I want to make sure that I give myself enough space to do that. and also the faces are full of expression, and just the subtle shifting movements and positions of things like eyebrows and turn of the lips on the mouth can really sell us the emotion, the expression that the character is going through. And in this painting, it's really quite brilliant how he's managed to capture these emotions of them, of the nymphs, and of Icarus himself, the way he is there lifeless. It looks very convincing, very realistic. But as I mentioned earlier, to me it's almost like he looks like he's asleep rather than dead. And due to the perspective, it's only that the top lip is barely visible. I think I'm gonna have to sharpen my pencil again, bear with me. Yeah, it's barely visible. So I'm gonna make sure that I at least get the line in the right place. It's kind of like flicks up at this angle and here, and wraps around a little bit, and then it's the bottom lip that we see much more of. I mean, I want to be careful not to, because the slightest different turn of the lips can make a little like sorrow appear as a smile, and that's not what we want to achieve. You have to be really, really mindful of where you're placing the lines and the facial features. But I've no doubt that it would have taken Draper quite a while to get this right, and I wonder if he used models. He must have done his own models for this particular painting. And for anybody who is joining, welcome. I hope you are doing well on this Valentine's Eve or day, depending on where in the world you are. I know New Zealand and Australia, it is already Valentine's Day, Valentine's morning. And some other parts of the world. So the cylinder of the neck is in an interesting position. I want to make sure that I'm getting the shadow shape areas correct, I should say, in the right place. The neck, it's kind of like a soft trapezius. It's not too much definition, then it hits the shoulder and the deltoid and wraps around into the tricep. And some of that is obfuscated. By part of Icarus's wings, which I'm gonna map in right here. And I think I'm close enough. It's not the exact tilt of the head. And I want to go over this area here and just lighten the line work a little bit, but for now I'm just going to hold off because it's close enough for the moment, I think. And then just behind this water nymph's head is the other one. It has a completely different expression. So I'll look to capture that in a moment. Just going to bring in the other side of the anatomy of this particular nymph with a deltoid swinging round into the bicep and the tricep, which falls behind Icarus's head and his hair. So far, no eraser. I have not used the eraser yet, even though I would like to here, ever so slightly. I'm just going to see how far I can go without using it. Come back over the cheekbone and the eyelids. We're looking up almost at his eyelids. This is the bottom eyelid, and this is the slit of the eye that's closed. And then we see the complete underside of his nostril. The nose needs to be extended slightly. Down. Yeah, no worries. You get to sleep. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Who's this? Kitchen. Thank you. Really appreciate that. That's a cool YouTube name. But yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for joining. Yeah, I started this from scratch. So I'm doing a master study of the Lament of Icarus by Herbert James Draper. If you're still here, where in the world are you watching from? What country, or what city or town? Really curious to know. So I'm still blocking in the composition. Now, I'm fairly happy with the position of the first two characters before I've gone into any erasing of marks. I've deliberately sketched in lightly first. And I do want to add a little bit more to the chin here and his mouth area, ever so slightly, and I want to lighten this area too. But before I do that, I'm going to sketch in the third head, which it looks like she's just about leaning over the back of this one's head. So It's like she's moving up in this direction. So let me just check the proportions here. Have I given enough room for all the shape of her head? I think I have, almost. Should be enough. And then, yeah, it's like this other nymph's head is just leaning over. So this is the outer contour of the face. And it appears slightly larger. Let's see. Get this angle right, get the brow ridge in, and that curve is going to wrap around the skull, the neck, center of the neck's around here, shoulder comes right underneath, wraps down behind the hair of this first nymph. And she's like stretching out this way a little bit. And this is the one that's holding the harp in the painting. She's got her arm outstretched. I should be able to fit it in. First, I just want to map out the general outline of the shape of the hair on top of the head. Let's see if I can get the brow, the hairline, I should say, in place, or what's visible with the hair that drops over the hairline. It's an interesting choice of hairstyle. So again, I want to make sure that I get the proportions in the right place. And this nymph's nose, it's got a nice kind of like ski slope shape to it. How would I describe the eyebrow expression? Well, this one kind of disappears a little bit, so it's a bit hard to see. It's kind of like raised and at an angle. And so is this one. It's like despair, a look of despair. But yeah, just with the lines of the eyebrows, you can already see some of the expression come through. And then I'm going to place the balls of the eyes in there. This far one, it's really hard to see. And the eyeballs and the eyelids are quite, I mean, she's looking down at Icarus, so the eye is down here, pointing this way, and the eyelids wrapping around right at that low point, that low angle. try and get that in the right place. And it's pretty much doing the same over here, but you just can't see it very well. So I'm going to have to make a guess. And the mouth, she's got her mouth open here. It's looking quite shocked. It'll be a tricky one to draw. Let's see. Focusing on the shapes. The simple shapes. The bottom lips capturing all of the light here. Make sure I get that in. And some definition of the chin. More or less, I'll have to come in, I think, with a pencil. Eraser in a minute, my kneaded eraser, just to correct some of this. Some of the facial feature. The gap between the chin and the mouth and the size of the mouth. I'm going to come back in a sec. Let's map out some of the hair, where the hair is positioned. But once I've got the faces in, oh, there's one more character down here actually that I need to get in to make sure it's in the correct position. I will check to see if anybody's here and said anything, but if anybody's just joining, please do say hello. And feel free to draw along. It's nighttime here, it's getting very close to midnight on Friday night, on Valentine's Eve here in England. It's a late night session, spontaneous one. Got some very light ambient music on in the background, if you can hear that. It's a chill out session. Friday chill out. I didn't even think that I'd be doing a Valentine's a live stream, but here we are. It's a good opportunity to get something out there, and hopefully it can be a nice experience for you to follow along. If you're sat at home or in transit, whatever you're doing. So, just going to make sure I get the anatomy right here. Again, the trapezius slightly wraps around. Then we have the deltoid again. Actually, master studies are one of my favorite things to do, especially when I don't particularly feel like starting something really complicated from scratch that is my own work, and I feel like I just want to get a bit of practice in. I tend to love to return to looking at the greats that have come before, the master artists, and do some studies, some copies of their work, and try to understand some of their choices and really pay attention to the works that they create, because it's one thing to glance at a beautiful painting for a few seconds in a gallery, but if you really spend time with it, you're going to learn so much more, especially when you're doing direct observational drawing studies from those masterworks. I'm going to see if anybody is here and take a sip of tea. Hi Vika, thank you for joining. I don't know if you're still here. Just doing a master study. I see I'm 50 minutes in to this live stream, which is pretty cool. I think there's somebody else watching. I'm not sure who. I'm just going to take a quick sip of tea again. But if you've just joined, I am doing a pencil drawing master study of what I think is now probably one of my favorite paintings. And I've got quite a few, but I really like this one. I think it's an epic, beautiful painting. Very sad though, it's a very sad, very tragic, almost, you could, it's lingering on a love story painting. You don't quite know if these water nymphs know this Icarus character or not, but they might do, because they seem very sad. So I'm just trying to think now, if I want to come in slightly with the eraser, or am I just gonna just push a little bit further before I do? Do you know what, I'm gonna aim for the hour mark before I do that on the live stream. At least I'm gonna get as much in as I can, I think, without using the eraser. I don't think I've used it. If I have, it was purely unconscious and I wasn't paying attention, but consciously I have not used it. I'm not aware that I've used it, but I don't think I have. It's been attached to my pencil and I've just picked it up, I think. Not that there's anything wrong with me using it, but I just want to see how far I can go with getting the composition correct before I feel like I really need to use it to make some corrections. Am I just about to fit in? Will I be able to fit in this arm and the hand which is holding the harp? Yes, I am. Just about. Let's get the angle in. And I want to make sure I get the distance between everything correct. So gonna block in the rest of the outside shape of her hair. Before I started this stream, I was thinking about shutting everything down and going to read for a little bit. But the idea occurred to me to do this, and I acted on it. So there's this really beautiful harp shape. I mean, some of it looks really transparent. It's almost like a ghostly instrument. So where does it start? It starts from below the breast, comes up past the underarm, over the deltoid, and it's this shape like this. And I'm going to have to make up a little bit of the shape of this, I think, because it's literally like some of it is invisible. It's almost like he forgot or to paint it in. And I've seen that with a few paintings in some galleries, like the National Gallery, come across some really epic paintings where there's so much going on. So many characters, so highly detailed, like it would have taken immense effort. And then there's just little segments of these paintings where part of something has been painted in, but not completed. It's like abandoned. It just makes you wonder, was that deliberate? Or did they actually forget and just get lost? They could have got to a point in the painting where they're like, I am going to collapse if I continue any further. And maybe just gave it their all and decided they are not returning to it ever again. But maybe not. Maybe it was purely intentional, not to draw the eye towards it at all, and for it to be a detail that is discovered upon deeper observation. So the arm is stretched out, and I think the elbow, there's a point around here where you just get the most subtle indication that the elbow is behind there, but you get that little dent on the inside where the muscle and the bone connect. And then there's a slight arch and then a straight right up to the wrist. But I just need to be careful to get the correct distances in as I'm doing this. Hopefully I'm speaking loud enough. I'm going to see if anybody else is here. I don't think they are. That's all good. There might be one person here at the moment. But I'm just going to continue now. If there's nobody here, I will just get in the zone and I will check from time to time. Who's watching? So back to mapping in some of these hair patterns, spiraling hair patterns, and then try and get this wrist position correct. These two arches of the knuckles, and then the fingers wrap around the outside part of the harp, and this part definitely seems like it's made from something from the ocean because it resembles something like, I don't know, coral inspired, and it twists, bends around. I feel like now is the time. Let me see if I've gone. Yeah, I've gone beyond an hour, so I'm going to come in now and start making a few small corrections to the facial features. Sharpen my pencil. Check the time. Don't want to go too late. Let's see. It's gone midnight now. Can go for another half an hour. So an hour in, and I think I'm using the eraser for the first time, because I have been chatting as I've been doing this. Get rid of some of these. Construction lines. I really want to get this part of the cheek. I went a little bit too dark there when I first put it in, but just want to get it as it wraps around. We get this part of the eyebrow. It's quite hard because I'm drawing at a small scale. Probably be better with a mechanical pencil at this point, but just want to get that curve. And there's not much definition in the ear in the painting. Excuse me. Feel like need to ever so slightly change the expression of the mouth. So I've got the nose, maybe the nose comes down slightly more. Trying to get the exact lines at this scale with this pencil is not easy. But I guess that's close enough for now. We'll check to see if anybody's here in just a sec. Still got quite a bit to map out here, so I'm going to do that before I start trying to shade things in, as I almost started to do then. Just get some stronger lines in place here and there. I feel like I'm all alone here at the moment, but I don't actually know. I think I am. Such an interesting experience going live and doing like a long drawing. And I can't see, right, like all the time who's here or not. It's only when I pause and go over my shoulder and have a look on my phone, which is where I'm streaming from, but it's really interesting. Sort of just being aware that I might be, somebody could be watching. Somebody from anywhere in the world at any moment in time could tune in and start watching. So interesting. But it's nice, it's almost like you're not completely alone in the process, and you're inviting people in to the experience, share some of that with them. So this is part of the Icarus's face that I wanted to return to. Just get these lip shapes in place properly. His top lip, which we can see because we're looking up underneath. It's going to be really hard to get that. These defining lines in there. Let's see. I have to go a little bit sharper, I think. Or maybe I can use this other pencil just for the moment. Such a small area to work into. So every little stroke and shift of direction of line matters in this case. Just wanna, his chin is like just resting there. He's sort of like around, like leaning into his deltoid shoulder muscle. Switch back over to my other pencil now. And also like the top part of his chest. Hopefully that's improved it slightly. Just check and see if anybody's here. Nobody new has joined. That's fine. Somebody's here though. Somebody's watching. Thank you for sticking around, whoever you are. So, I think I've fairly decently managed to get, it's not completely how the original is, but it's this curving line of the three heads and then The fourth is down here. But I've now got the challenge. Let me see. Do we see any more? Do we see her right arm? I think it's just an indication of it here, just close to his head, and then it vanishes behind. And I'm actually doing his muscles a disservice, actually, quite a bit bigger. Really well built anatomy in the original painting. Definitely need to sharpen this pencil. It's another thing, you just want to make sure that always keep it sharp, because that edge goes so quick. It's not the nicest sound at this time of evening, but it sharpens the pencil very quick. So, back to the deltoid. I want to make sure that I get the size correct. Just curves out from the mouth. So much detail, it's insane in the original painting. Such a masterful painting. The only thing that I think is questionable is his legs, but we'll get to that bit in a minute. I feel like his legs could have done with thicker muscles, but maybe that's just my own personal bias. But yeah, we'll see in a minute, especially compared to like the muscle definition of the torso, which is just like, it's really ideal. Probably was considered ideal at the time, and probably in the time of Greece, in ancient Greece, it was considered ideal. Maybe that's why he painted Icarus in such a way. But then again, maybe it's got something to do with the fact that he would have had to been really strong to maneuver these wings to fly, because they are not actually bird wings. So he would have had to use his musculature to power the wings. And if I remember correctly, that he was imprisoned before he escaped, then maybe he was training a lot, preparing, planning, plotting his escape, and training a lot physically. So maybe the brilliant anatomy and muscle definition is a story in itself. I don't know if I'm looking into things too much, but this is what I mean when you allow yourself to spend more time with these masterworks, you just start to uncover things, or at least your imagination will take you on a journey, whether that's the original intent of the artist who designed and painted the artwork originally or not. I guess that's for you to decide, but nevertheless, you go on a journey. So I'm just checking that I've got the the top half of the arms correct before I block in the other parts of the arms. There are parts of the painting where the proportion seems a little bit strange. Like his right hand over here seems quite large compared to the left hand down here in the original painting. Not like massively noticeable, but when you're looking at it closely enough, maybe it's just the angle. I'm just going to see if anybody is here. So trying to get all of these subtle changes and shapes in the right place, it really requires you to focus quite intently and constantly measure and check backwards and back and forth. Between each different part of the painting. Because if you don't, you can easily go astray and draw something too big or too small. I want to return to these eyes in a minute and make a change, but firstly, and I've just discovered, I've just realized that there's a strap that Icarus must have created that attaches his arms to the wings. It's like a belt of some sort. You don't see exactly where it is attached to because it disappears behind the feathers, but it's there. You can see that it's there, which makes it more believable. And checking the space, this negative space here. I'm just going to stand over the drawing as well, to give me a slightly different perspective to check the proportions, because it is usually better to have the drawing surface closer to eye level with what you're looking at, the reference, rather than completely flat on the table, because then you're fighting the perspective that you're looking at the sketchbook at whilst trying to do measurements of proportions and map them on paper. But for the sake of a live stream, especially on this vertical phone format, it works best this way, but I just need to make sure that I'm checking what I'm doing from a different point of view from time to time, so I'll just stand for a few minutes. And do hope, wherever you are in the world, that you have a lovely Valentine's Day, whether that is with, if you have a loved one or not. Hopefully you don't have to work and you can enjoy the weekend to yourself or with others. If you're an artist, maybe you can use the time to get creative. Wonder if I can zoom in a bit. Oh, I can. That's cool. Didn't know I could do that. an hour and 20 minutes in. It's pretty cool. So, excuse me, for anybody listening back, I just want to return to this again. Actually, no, I'll wait until I'm sitting down because it's a bit finer. Back to his arm, mapping out his arm. Let's see, because I can definitely fit it in. I think I'll probably go for another 10 minutes and then maybe I can continue, I can do a part 2 and continue tomorrow morning. We'll see. Friday Night Live special. I think it's just me at the moment. So, I think this is the right length, and I'm going to block his thumb muscle in, get the knuckles in place. At some point I'll figure out how to do a live where the camera is above the sketchbook, pointing down. But at the moment this kind of setup is quick and easy to do. I can just put my phone on my tripod and position it close to my sketchbook. And I have figured out that, yeah, I can zoom in and out ever so slightly. Oh wow, I can actually go in quite far. That's cool. But I can't, it just zooms in right in the middle, not in a particular area, but that's all good. So I'll experiment with having the camera close in and a little bit further out to get the full picture from time to time. But I'm just standing over the sketch at the moment. And let's see, definitely want to get this knuckle and finger connection right straight off the bat. This finger just kind of flicks out, but I need to sharpen my pencil again. And soon enough, I will also start experimenting with doing live streams where I have another camera. I think I can do it with a vertical stream where I have a camera pointing at my sketch or the painting, plus another camera, maybe a webcam pointed at me, so you can see me as well, to make it a little bit more interesting. I know that when I've gone on other artists' live streams before, it's always quite nice to also see the artists as they work and stuff. Just got to sharpen my pencil again. So the feathers are going to be fun. Like, the design that he's done of the feathers is pretty cool on this painting. And this is also really good, like, anatomy practice. It's not, of course, from an actual model, but just understanding the artist's choice. I'm sure he would have painted from a model rather than imagination, but maybe not, because some have got such incredible knowledge that they can pose a figure how they like, because they've drawn it so many times from life, that they don't actually need a studio model. And that is definitely goals to get to that stage. But I think most would have used, especially in complicated scenes, a model in a lot of cases. So I feel like his right arm is looking all right, I think. Hopefully not too long. Should be all right. But you can always go back and change later if I don't think so. Don't want to dwell on this area for too long at the moment. And I'm going to sit back down and start mapping in some of the feather design. I'll check the time as well. Check my battery health on my phone. I think it's good. And let's see. Yeah, it's 12:30. I'll push a little bit further, but I can't stay for too long. It's getting late here. Into Saturday morning. So, whatever this belt is, also wraps around, and it helps sell the form of the arm. So it wraps around his muscles, convinces us that it's a real scene. And then there's a bit that falls beneath the arm and spirals around. Just quickly sketch that in. Then we can begin to play around with some of the shapes of the feathers and stuff on his wings. Some of it does go off the page here. And if I can, I really want to get that fourth figure in below, but let's see. So just going to put a quick indication of these feathers in to start off with. Get smaller as they recline. Because the the wings are foreshortened too. They move away from the bodies into space. Actually a little bit further down, around here, I think. It's made me want to, well, I should say it's making me want to revisit the story. I think I might have been at school when I learned about the myth of Icarus. But now I feel like I want to learn more. Or at least revisit it, because I would have learned about the story when I was a child, I'm sure. I just need to remember. The details. I want to be careful as well that I'm not repeating these shapes. That's a habit you've got to be aware of as well. When you're drawing organic shapes, you don't want to create too many repetitive patterns. I think it's also a good idea to combine some straight lines with some curved lines for greater visual interest and contrast. I'm not sure, I think it's part of the rock that's between the head and the wing. It seems that way. It's like, yeah, it must be. Just an indication of these lines of the rock. And a lot of this is in shadow, so. But being aware of the forms and how the direction that the feathers move in around the wing, around the form, which communicates the volume of the wings and how it moves and how it sits, how it falls into space and into the distance. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. I should just draw in silence for a while. I don't know. I'll check and see if somebody's here soon. But I'm very open to feedback as well for these streams. Let me know your thoughts at any time. If you prefer that I go quiet for longer periods, or if you like the fact that I'm talking as I draw. I feel like it's nice sometimes, but can't do it every second because it can be quite distracting. Let's see. So, yeah, I feel like I should be able to quickly map in some of these wing shapes. They do go further up off the page, and there is some ocean in the background. I think there's an indication of a distant ship, but maybe not. But you won't be able to see that in this sketch. I'm just gonna get in these wing shapes. Silhouette at first. And Just some nice line and shape design, even in the wings. Definitely had some fun painting this, that's for sure. I don't want to do too much because I still haven't got that fourth body in, so I'm just going to get, I think, a little bit more of the silhouette of the outer contour and then come back down. Actually, I need to zoom out. Can't see what I'm doing. There we go. I feel like I need to sharpen my pencil again. Definitely do. So quickly skim over some of these shapes. Just give the suggestion of the feathers. And I think I'll return to this section in a bit. I'm now going to move down here and try and at least get the, well, first I'll finish his arm, get a little bit of the rest of his body in, and then if I can fit her in, the other nymph might not be able to put her whole body in the scene, but I'll be able to get part of it in there, hopefully. So let's return to the lower part of the body. And the legs. They sort of just droop down. Don't really like how they look in the original painting, the legs. They kind of look, maybe it's the shadow. It's like they look too soft, too floppy, don't know. So I might leave that bit to last. Let's finish off his other arm. So again, there's quite a good amount of muscle definition going on in the original painting. I'll check the spaces. Seems like he's got amazing knowledge. It's making me want to pull out an anatomy book and really study forearm muscles. But his arm drops down, swoops down here. And his hand starts around here. Got the wrists. Bit hard to see because he's got these straps that connect to his wings wrapped around his forearms. But the general shapes are there. The palm. Hopefully that's not too long. I think it is. Maybe. I think this is more or less in the right place. Placement of his fingers. And you can just about see an indication of his thumb sticking out there. I think that's just a look from above. Just checking that it's not too long. I think it's alright, just, I think. So then I'm just gonna, before I stop streaming, I really want to get this fourth figure in. So at least the start of it. So I'm gonna do that now. Then I'm just gonna check if it's gonna be in view. It should be. Just about. So the figure is like just about where this pencil is here. I feel like the arm might just be slightly too long. Slightly. So let's go back to the wings. And I'll come back to the arm in a bit. Get these swooping patterns in. For sure his elbow isn't that pointy. So let's get that correct. There is a bump there, but it's not so angular. I'm just going to map out the pattern of some of these feathers. We can return to later. But it is starting to get late. Let me see. What time it is? Yeah, 10 to 1. We'll probably have to wrap things up very soon. Been going for quite a while, but let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop in a minute. In fact, it's yeah, I can't get the full composition in. In the original painting, you can see almost the whole body of the nymph down here, except the water comes up halfway up her thigh, but I'll only be able to get some of her back in, I think, in this one, with the size that I'm drawing at. Just gonna get going quite quiet now because I have to admit I am getting sleepy. I'm not gonna lie. And at the moment, I think everybody's left because it is getting very late. So I will just map ever so slightly. Hang on a second, I'm just gonna. Change the brightness on my laptop. But maybe I can return to this tomorrow morning. I don't know if you can continue a stream, probably not, but I can just do a part 2, I guess. Might have to use a different thumbnail though, different one of his paintings. I wonder if there's a different version, if he did an earlier version that I could use. I think the final few minutes, and I'll have to call it a night. So I'm going to put the final few strokes in, get some of this fourth character down, try and get that, the curve of the spine at least. And next up, my next video that isn't a live stream, that's a normal YouTube video, is going to be on oil painting. It'll be a time lapse of my latest oil painting with a voiceover. I'm talking about something that's really important for the oil painting process. And I guess painting in general, but oil painting in particular. Because there's so much going on that you have to think about. And hopefully I can get that finished this weekend, because next week I'm going away and I should be able to make a video, and I will be filming out there and I will be sketching and hopefully painting a bit too, but I really want to get at least the next video out there and done and ready. It's a shame there's not enough room for me to fit this arm in, because she's resting on a rock and the hand pose is really nice. It's a shame. Try and make sure that get the proportions right in the back. Back is long enough. It's just an indication of the other hand, well, the thumb and the finger from the other hand there, and then the rock is down here, that she's resting on or leaning on. But yeah, unfortunately, there's not enough room for me to get the rest of the body in on this one. But that's fine. I feel like at least I've got an indication of all four figures. And let's see, can I get a little bit more of the outline of the wings just for another minute? About a minute. Is there anybody here? There's one person here. Hello. I have no idea who you are. Feel free to say hello. But yes, I'm definitely getting quite sleepy now, so I should probably end it here. And pick things up, maybe tomorrow. call it a night now. Thank you for anybody who joined and commented, especially, and if anybody's watched back and they watch all the way up to this point, thank you so much. Amazing. Appreciate that. I'm gonna detach the camera before I turn things off completely, just to show you around the sketch a little bit of a slightly better point of view. So you can just see what I did a little bit closer up. Clearly still work to do, but got all 4 figures in to the scene. And yeah, it'll be nice to push this because I could definitely finish the entire page. It will take some time, but it could be worth it. It's just a shame the sketchbook isn't big enough, because if I'd drawn any smaller, it just would have been really, really difficult, I think, and not as enjoyable to try and get like all of the figures in and the facial expressions. But oh, this is quite a nice point of view. If I could have the camera up close like this. But yeah. Thank you everybody for watching and joining and commenting. Yeah, I'm just finishing up. Whoever just rejoined, I was just showing some of the details, and I will probably return to this tomorrow, but I just wanted to give another point of view so you can see how it's looking. And yeah, that's the 4th one. All right. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to end it now. Take care.